Welcome to Brewcast. We're going to start with we're back on Israel again this week. Can't help it. For some reason, they just wanted to be in the algorithm. I don't control that, so here we go.
Yeah, about that. Hmm.
So we've got probably this will take the majority of our time, I think. Let's go ahead and read through this. This is a post on Disclose.tv's website, and it says the title is Israel dumps millions into U.S. influence targeting evangelicals in churches and ChatGPT. Israel's government has allocated millions in contracts to U.S. firms for public diplomacy efforts targeting evangelical Christians and AI platforms like ChatGPT amid eroding support. Foreign Agents Registration Act filings document payments routed through Havas Media Germany, GmbH, which has handled at least $100 million since 2018 for Israeli tourism promotion in the U.S. The largest agreement, a $6 million 4-month deal in August with Clock Tower X, owned by Brad Parscale, Trump's former digital campaign manager, funds anti-Semitism campaigns producing 100 core content pieces monthly, such as videos, podcasts, graphics, text, plus 5,000 derivatives for 50 million impressions. 80% of the content targets young Americans on TikTok, Instagram, and YouTube, distributed through Salem Media Networks, over 200 Christian radio stations and websites where Parscale serves as strategy lead. I want to start with that.
Yeah, this is God, so much to unpack overall, but it's backfiring. The young generation that they're targeting, whenever they see this stuff, they see it for what it is them trying to create this whatever positive sense and destroy the anti-Semitism, which is only creating more in the young population.
But I also think that they're, at least what we've seen in the last week or two, they are trying to, I guess, create the appearance of it where it doesn't exist.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. I mean, I can agree with that sentiment. The problem is that it doesn't matter. The opinions of the young have been formed, and it is within that culture, and it is the current generation, our generation, the previous generations, which have yet to really comprehend and understand the impact that this kind of stuff has on the younger population, because basically they are seeing all of this pro-Israel anti-Semitism, um, I guess I should say, defense against anti-Semitism stuff being pushed to them, being forced upon them, and they see it for what it is,
And
because they don't see a positive future. So
I mean, how
anything
can
that has
they?
been
So what is the
exactly.
what positive future do you think that? Okay, what future do they think they see? We're talking about young children in America right now, young kids. If you a
Not
younger
being able to move
generation.
out, yeah, like not being able to move out of the parents' house because they can't afford it. They are already seeing the implications of the housing crisis, the amount of how expensive it is to have your own home. They're seeing the data that only 12% of the population of males inside the United States that are married and are 30 own a home.
And then we just had something come out recently where there was a new 50-year mortgage. That was real, right?
Yeah, that was real. That's something that they're pushing. And while it does create the ability to have a lower house payment to be able to do it, but the problem is you're going to be paying 3 to 4 times the actual value of your home, because the way that the interest is done, and that's just not viable. Instead of going after the companies that are illegally selling homes to themselves at double the price in an area of an entire neighborhood they bought up, to
Inflate.
dramatically raise the prices to inflate it, and not actually selling the home, but only wanting to rent them out. So the young are seeing this, and I'm seeing more and more stuff come across my feed of young people saying it. Again, there's also the echo chamber, and I'm fully aware of that. But I've also, when I go outside the echo chamber, because I will, boot up a private browser and go through a VPN to a different area, so I get, different stuff coming through my feed. And even if I go to different countries through my VPN, I'm seeing the same thing. So in general, the internet young culture is seeing all of these problems, which actually might account for the reason why they're trying to push so much of this, must be 16 years old in order to get on the internet.
Could be
Because a lot
because
of the,
they'll become voters.
so they're trying to, cut that off as soon as they can. I mean, it's not going to keep, kids from going online. Parents are going to allow their children to go online and be able to do all this stuff. And if they're smart, they will. But, of course, if you're a smart parent, you would
You would,
make sure they're not going to the sites or doing the things that they're, the big daddy government's trying to prevent now.
are you saying they would
But
already be parenting?
yeah,
Yeah.
so it's there. Yeah, it just, God, this kind of thing just kind of branches out in so many different directions. We
Well,
could talk about just this
well, let me
probably.
let me throw a random thought, a hot take on it. All right. Well, I'm gonna try to persuade you into a different idea. So the 50-year mortgage rates, right? Yes, you'll get a
Yeah,
lower thing. Um, if we look at, or if they try to sell the positives of that, you could say, okay, well, you're going to incentivize people to stay in an area for a really long time, the majority of their life, right? Kind of like homesteading, like you get your place that is your place. Would you be more inclined to accept that direction if there were no, what is it, like property taxes? So you actually owned your house and your property, and you could get 50-year mortgages. But the reason that matters is because the time that you would be investing in there, you'd be investing in the community for the duration of pretty much over half your life, or the remainder of it by the time
that's
you get a
a
house.
that's an interesting point. If okay, with the assumption there was no property taxes,
Mm-hmm.
um, and it would actually be disadvantaged to constantly be moving because the way that the compounding interest works in these home loans. In order for you to actually pay down, if you only made the minimum, the payments and not, paid on principal, it would be advantage for you to stay in one area because the longer you're in that house paying off that loan, the more money will go to the principal and the more you will actually own of your home.
Mm-hmm.
So that is a very valid point. However, you could also game the system by putting extra money into the principal like I do for my house. And I'm going to have my house paid off in less than 5 years.
I mean, you absolutely should do that.
But
Absolutely. Like
yeah,
the first 7 years you have a mortgage, you should be banking like as every extra penny you can on it, for sure.
yeah, I basically put in slightly over double what my payment is. So, I mean, I'm now chipping away faster and faster and faster because every single time you pay on the principal, it actually lowers your interest.
Mm-hmm.
So you start getting this acceleration effect that you'll start, paying off more and more and more.
Yep.
So,
Yeah. So like, yeah, you're saying what you're saying is like at the beginning of a loan, most of the payment that you're giving to them is actual interest, and a very small percentage
yes,
of it is what's the other word?
um, principal.
Principal. There you go. All right. So we'll pull it back into here. Young people clearly are going to be seeing this TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, of course. Um, and what are some things that you can recall that you've seen in the last week or two that has been in kind of this sphere of influence?
You mean from like what's coming from the people you're listing here or
Yeah.
the reactions?
Well, just
I,
the general message of like Israel promoting certain things, or just like certain religious ideas or moralities being presented in a abnormal, inorganic fashion.
Well, the constant saying that, Jews and Christians are ideologically aligned when they are not in many ways. And it's just, that's mostly what I've been seeing is people pushing back against that and how the, uh, how do I say this? Basically, the fact that it seems to be that Israel is royally trying to stop the anti-Semitism, but instead of trying to prove that what people are saying about Israel is wrong, they're just doing what the left has traditionally done, try to cancel people. And you kind of see that with Ted Cruz. I know we're going to talk about that later,
Mhm.
but it's more than anything else, it's shaming versus actual providing evidence that what people are saying is wrong. So,
To me, it also looks like it's identity politics.
yes, yes, that's another way to put it. Yes.
And I'm pretty sure one of the hallmarks of Marxism is identity politics.
Mm,
So
absolutely.
if we just got done dealing with the left, who did nothing but identity politics for 8+ years, and now we're seeing the same pattern coming from, except the topic is different. Instead of it being black people, it's Israel. Instead of being trans people, it's Israel. It's Christians
Yep.
and Jews, and it's trying to force everyone into their little specific labels. And no one's making the argument that if it this is about America, you know, Israel should look out for what Israel wants. America should look out for what America wants. And then once you are good, just it's just like, giving money to your friends, right? Like, you don't give money to your friends that you don't have, but if you have it, like, you definitely want to give it to them. I mean, they're your friends, but you're going to make sure that you're good and you have a base before you go, like, being flamboyant with your expenses or your excess or your resources.
Yeah, but this is Israel, them taking or looking out for themselves because the amount of American tax, or I'm not even going to say that anymore, American taxpayer money, the amount of money that is being printed and sent over to Israel, it is the only way they can actually exist, which is interesting because they have a lot of nationalized healthcare and a lot of nationalized things over there that the U.S. is actually paying for. They don't really pay a whole lot of it themselves because I mean, they have exports and they have stuff like that, but they don't really have a tax base, to the best of my knowledge, over in Israel like we do here. So,
I guess my question
yeah.
my understanding is that there have been large amounts of, entertainment, specifically entertainment, owned by particularly Jewish people,
Mm.
and for, I guess, I always thought they did really well. But why does
Uh,
the U.S. fund that stuff? I mean, I understand the support for the conflict that's been persisting since ever.
well, you got to keep in mind it's not the government that's being funded, it's the individuals who are the billionaires and whatnot that have all that money. And you have the guy who now owns TikTok who who's the single largest donor to the IDF, Israeli Defense Force. The largest single donor, if I don't know if I said that. But so there are people who do fund and support Israel out of their own pocket, but it's majority of that money is not in Israel itself.
Yeah, it's certainly hard to paint like a very simple picture once you start dealing with money because of how many things are connected.
Yeah, and also the fiat type currency that the world operates under, and the reason why the world's in debt the way it is. Actually, did I send you that video? about that?
I don't think so. Maybe. I don't recall.
Okay, yeah, well, I found there's a guy who put together a video that kind of talked about exactly how the fiat currency was actually generated. I mean, to a long story short, basically a guy during the one of the French British wars, I think it was like 16 or 1700, I don't remember the exact year. The British government ran out of money to fight the war, so a banker, I think it's Alan Patterson, I think was his name, um, came up with a solution of saying that, all right, well, if I can go get these basically bankers or traders to loan a large sum of money to the government, but you never actually pay back that loan, you only pay interest on it. So he convinced the king to do that. So they basically took out, I think it was like 30 million pounds or something like that, back in those days to fund the government and fund the war, and then they have been paying interest on that since then. And every single time they take another loan out, it just gets added to that balance, which is the reason why you have so much inflation. So these are loans that are never meant to be paid back, but they are constantly being paid. They, being the bankers and whatnot, are constantly being paid interest, and that is what our banking system is based off of. There have been three other individuals who kind of added more on top of that, but that is the very basis for it. So,
So that's the
in
system built
theory,
on debt.
yes. So, in theory, you will never pay down the national debt we have. Because if you do pay down the national debt, that's removing the actual money supply. And since the fiat currency is not backed by gold or any kind of real um, tangible material that has value, it's just debt backed. If you were to eliminate the debt, the currency will cease to exist.
Hmm.
Supposedly. I mean, there's a lot more to it than that's a very, very top level um, view of it all. And quite frankly, I don't understand it 100%, but from what I gathered from that and some other minor research I did, that's kind of what happened. So, and that is what our United States economy is based off of, essentially. Is that plus there's been others that have added on top of it. So,
Hmm.
yeah. So we're just going into debt to pay back a significant amount of interest to bankers, and we're never going to pay off the loan.
So doesn't
So
that technically mean that they own the country then? As long as you're not in default, right?
well, if you go into default, technically they would own the country at that point because they have claim over all the resources and everything else. In which that is one of the reasons why supposedly that the national park system exists. It's not to preserve the natural resources of beauty or the trees or whatever else. It's to use as collateral. So,
Wow. That's a thought.
yeah, I mean, that wasn't in the video, but that's, tying over to other like previous knowledge of the reason why that, yeah, because so much of the natural resources that are inside the United States, we have enough. The United States supposedly has more natural resources than any other place in the world. All the natural resources that we could ever need that we get from everywhere else, we could find inside the United States if we went and got it. The problem is that land has been demarcated off as collateral to the bank so that we can continue to have this fiat system. So at least that's
Hmm.
my my game theory about the reason why it's there. But it does kind of just line up too perfectly. So
Huh. Hmm. I'd want to see. I'd want to see the banks involved in that because that might connect up here. So
well, it's the Federal Reserve,
yeah.
but
Well,
anyways,
I mean, the private
that's
sector
not really
banks,
federal.
private sector.
Oh, I
Um,
see.
but what I wanted to, we'll pull it back to the article. Salem
Yeah.
Media. There's been a lot of podcast content creators that I think that I've grown to enjoy over the last decade that are part of Salem Media or worked for or with. One of those, and we talked about this person I think last week, is Dinesh D'Souza. I checked before the show, before the recording here, that yeah, he's affiliated with him in the Salem Media Group.
I was unaware of that.
And I just find it odd that if Israel's dumping a bunch of money and a guy part of Trump's digital campaign, or Trump's former digital campaign manager, is dealing with, the people that are partaking in the Salem Media Network, and they're currently going after Tucker. And in this post from Dinesh this week, he's comparing Tucker, Nick Fuentes, and Candace to Ilhan Omar, Mamdani, and the other guy in Minnesota.
I remember his name.
I don't remember his name either.
About,
so that's kind of where the first thought led me for just what appeared this week. And again, all this stuff is just from this previous week. If I reference outside of that, I generally do, but this is the second week that Dinesh has been going after this, and he also has that background or that framework. And again, like, I'm not saying anything about Salem Media Group, but there's questions that I have.
And what are those questions?
I don't know yet, because I'm still working on formulating the questions, but it's one of those, it just kind of looks funny. So
it smells bad.
It smells bad. And my question would be is, how many other content creators that I enjoy or that I could find that are saying messaging similar to this are also in that group? Is that group special? Is it just it could be completely coincidental, but there's questions that I think could be raised and answered from this. I thought about actually like pausing today's episode and be like, I want to like dig into this super deep, but that kind of gets outside of like let's just see what happened this week, and for normal people like me to talk about and stay up to date, right?
Yeah, because he's been a very vocal. The right seems to be eating itself, just as the left is eating itself. It's interesting that it's creating subgroups on both sides, because you have the traditional, I'll say, Democrat leftists, then you have the communists / fascism leftists, which are like Mondami. Let's say classical liberals versus the neo-fascist liberals is kind of way you can kind of talk about them. And then you have the right, which is the America first before all other crowd, which would be Fuentes there, Nick Fuentes. Then you have the quote-unquote America, or MAGA, that is technically Israel / America first. So there are now 4 groups inside the United States that all are against each other.
So you think that the people, the 70+ million people that voted for Trump and the MAGA movement understood that it was Israel, America first?
No, because Make America Great Again, it was all about the United States. Trump didn't really talk too much about Israel. He did mention it a few times, but he knew that if he went a little too hard on it, he would not get the support that he wanted, and he would not get people coming out to vote. Because it's gotten to a point in the United States where it's not about choosing one candidate or another. It's more about convincing the people that would normally vote for your side to actually go out and vote. So, and then you do have, the Americans that are in the middle that will go out and vote, and they will actually choose a side. But you got to convince the base that will always vote your side to actually go out and vote. And if you disenfranchise those people, it's like, well, I don't want to vote for the other side, but I don't like this guy either, so fuck it. I'm just not going to go vote. That is kind of the mentality that a lot of people have in this country now. And I have multiple friends, multiple people that I talk to a lot, who have all said this to me. And also veterans have also said this to me. Like, there's no point going out to vote because I don't like either one of them. So I'm just going to let the country do what it wants to do. And that is the kind of camp that is being created right now. And it is a manipulation. And the problem is that that mostly affects the right. The left will still go out and vote a lot of the times
Yeah. They're
over the right.
yeah, they're single
But
issue voters.
mhm.
So
So
damn,
this is almost like it's engineered. Oh, it's obviously engineered from anyone who can see the writing on the wall. So
I had a question. I forgot it. Damn it.
we tend to do that to each other quite frequently.
Well, I just didn't want to interrupt you. It was a good question though. It's fine. What is this based on how him presenting this image? To me, he's trying to say that Candace, Tucker, and Fuentes are the same as the others, or I guess maybe he's saying, oh, this is the extreme right versus the extreme left.
From a let's say propaganda type point of view, if you want to look at it through that lens, this is trying to marry the view for people who don't really pay that close attention to stuff like we do, or look too deep into it like we do, trying to paint that those on the extreme left will see this, and especially if they trust D'Souza quite a bit, we'll see this as, how do we say this? I have the thought, I have the abstract, I'm just trying to figure out how to put it into words. Essentially, you take both sides and you show the direct opposite to each other, but yet you are showing that they are virtually along the same lines, like a horseshoe, I guess, is that they both basically align up and down the same way, but maybe not left and right the same way. So in doing that, you're instilling this comparison within the minds of the, like you said, single issue voters or those who are not that well informed to begin making judgment calls based upon what they are seeing from the other side. And if they compare Tucker to Dami there, just as an example, they'll see Tucker say something and Mandami say something and begin to maybe some kind of associate those two are saying it for each other, then you're going to pull away that person from a position that he would normally be for. This is some gymnastics, mental gymnastics that just doesn't jive too well with me. So this is just weird. I can't. This is me trying to talk through and create a framework for this, but this doesn't make a whole lot of sense.
I think that the framework makes sense if you shift the representation of what extreme right is. If you make extreme right the people that are pushing the Israel stuff right now and attacking the other people, they would match up with the left, except these three faces would need to change to other people. Then it would make sense because then it would be balanced.
Oh, yeah, because these are all anti-Israel. So they're trying to. Oh, okay, so now we have the left, the right, then up and down is now becoming anti and pro-Israel.
Mm-hmm. That's what I think they're trying to shift. Yep.
So you're creating, yeah, this does create the four quadrants, and yeah, this is a campaign to further divide. This is all this is. So they're seeing. I'm wondering if this is an attempt to stop the civil war.
Saying
Because if you have
to get
four,
out ahead of it, or is this to uh, increase the chance or further the timeline of that happening?
I
Or
might be maybe trying to completely stop the civil war. I mean, there is an argument to be made for both sides. Like one is definitely trying to push us toward a civil war versus against. But the problem is with the civil war is that there's a usually a fine line that separates, and you basically have two different perceived realities that begin to fight one another. Because one side will adamantly believe one thing and think the other side is evil, and then vice versa. So, or I should say mirror. And by creating this four different quadrants, are you creating four different sections? Because if an actual hot conflict were to emerge inside the United States, you would have the people who would be pro and against Israel, and then left versus right. That's four different factions. I'm gonna have to think on this because that's dangerous.
Yeah, I mean,
Could also be a distraction
could also be.
to further in the digital ID to create the WEF 2030 plan
Well, I think
to
we,
be the globalists,
I
trying to push back.
yeah,
Yeah.
but I think that's where the other side of it. Oh, that's where it was. The other side of this that we saw on in the algorithm was all of the attempted porn bans and age verification stuff, which I think we have
Hmm.
something for that later maybe. But I all of that messaging was coming from alleged Christian profiles or evangelical profiles, and they were using like really poor examples of scripture or just like moral virtue signaling to people. Um,
Well, it's funny you say that because I saw a video today of a bunch of bishops, the Legion or whatever they call themselves, the all the American bishops, and how they were basically coming out against Trump and the current ICE raids and fighting, combating the illegal immigration. And I didn't watch the video because they were reading from a script and it looked very globalist to me. But you are now having the right, people who are individuals who are traditionally on the right, because conservative religious, at least that's what it has been, coming out against immigration. It just doesn't. There's this that there's just way too much weirdness.
the world almost seems upside down, like it was written.
Yeah, this is straight out of a bad screenplay.
So if the bishops, I'm assuming you're talking Catholic bishops, right?
Yes.
So if the bishops are coming out against the current administration is pro-Israel. But if we look to, was it the Pope and all of the adjustments being made? There's apparently the Pope's going to have dinner with a bunch of people from the trans community, and that's going to be a world-changing thing. And the prayer rooms. What if Catholicism? This is probably impossible, but what if Catholicism has been taken over by Muslims or by Islam?
I would argue more taken over by the occult
Okay,
versus Muslims.
okay, a cult.
But
A cult fits better. Yeah. Okay.
but sorry, yeah, processing. The Because I've been seeing a lot of chatter, I'll say, about the way that the current pope is, like you're talking about, the anti-immigration. So he's against immigration. Um, Let me think about this for a sec. Um,
Or maybe it's more of like just the globalist control. Yeah.
I mean, ultimately, that's what it is. But the globalist is, I equate the globalist to occultism
Okay. Yeah.
because there's just too much of secrecy and hidden stuff, which in order for the occult to work, it has to be done in secret. You can't have it out in the open. Or well, there's two sides to that with the occult. You have The stuff that is hidden behind the scenes, the ritual, the blood sacrifices, and all the other ritual, like satanic esque or rituals that are being done. God, these, sorry, the temporary crowns I got in my mouth are making it hard to speak sometimes. Um, so you have that side, and then you have the overt side where they have to tell you their plans, but they don't like just overtly tell you. They put it in TV shows and movies and stories and song,
Subliminal.
subliminal. Because one thing about the occult that a lot of people don't seem to understand is that they believe that there is a very a positive omnipotent consciousness. So that Christians would call God, but they just think of it as a consciousness that only really allows for good things to happen. But in order to convince this consciousness, or for this consciousness to allow bad things to occur, they must be shown to people, they must be spoken out loud. And if we accept, as us as conscious beings, accept the fact that this is being shown to us, and don't push back against it or anything else, it's us allowing it to exist or allowing it to happen. We are giving it permission to bad things to happen to us. So this is the reason why they quote unquote cast their spells or show their imagery to us, such as the Super Bowl halftime commercial or halftime shows that are, look like they're straight out of occult practices, or even what happened at the Olympics this last time, and that pale horse, running across the water. So that is all occult imagery that is being shown to us to create that subliminal message, to quote unquote cast their spells in order for these bad events to occur. Now, obviously, I'm not going to say I believe any of this, but it doesn't matter if we believe it or not. They do.
Yeah.
And they are showing you what they're wanting to do. They are showing you their plans because they have to.
Hmm.
So if you look at something, you see movies, it's not just fantasy, it's not just, conspiracy. So if you look at it through that lens, you begin to see the writing on the wall. You begin to see their plans. And the problem is, me even talking about it like this makes me sound crazy, because that is part of their whole manipulation. So
I mean,
again, I'm not saying I believe it,
I
but
mean, we see that in many other areas. It's just like whenever you were talking about, oh, the elections were the safest and most secure. If you said anything, they made you sound crazy. So
yeah,
again, like that's not going to work anymore. Like especially in this space that we're trying to create here and nurture here, that's completely okay, right?
mm,
Completely okay to explore those ideas. But you mentioned they had
yeah,
to to tell you about it. On the same line, following from the attacks on, I guess, America First, or people that are, because Megyn Kelly she gave platform to Ben Shapiro, Tucker, right? Very, very, I love Megyn Kelly. She's like, I would be very shocked if she was not completely genuine. I've never ever smelled anything funny from her. But the Babylon Bee put out, and the Babylon Bee is a satire site. So let's start with what the Babylon Bee is. So a satire site. And they put out Megyn Kelly gets rid of old pager just to be safe. We referenced this. Actually, we showed this because of the guy that said that to not to Hassan, Mehdi Hassan, on CNN a couple weeks ago.
yep.
And then they deleted the post. The Hodgsons are like, hey, why'd you delete the post? I mean, that's a really good question. Why would they delete the post? They're a satire site. It's a joke, right?
Well, I don't know. I honestly don't know why they would do that, other than they were told to take it down, or it could be a fact that Megyn Kelly began legal proceedings because she could consider this a threat, which there is a basis there for that.
How
And
is
their lawyers probably told them to take it down.
how is this threat different from this versus Mehdi Hassan?
I don't know how to answer that question. I don't think it is.
So you think the guy that said it to Mehdi, or just like made the reference on CNN and then like apologized, meant it as an actual threat? Because I remember we reviewed that and we were like, no,
No,
he thought it was
you're
like,
right.
yeah. What is the significance behind? Why does this have more weight behind it? At least to me, it appears it has more weight.
It could be as simple. I'm thinking through Occam's razor here. It could just be as simple as the Babylon Bee was getting a lot of negative press from it, a lot of negative comments about it, and because of how sensational it is, how people can't see it as a joke, it just became a PR nightmare for them, so they just got rid of it.
But see,
Honestly, that's just what Occam's razor would suggest.
I totally get that. But
Hmm.
remember the stuff that they were putting out, like whenever like people we were trying to get Trump into office. They were full fledged, hardcore against the messaging, and like it was no holds barred. Like I think maybe they took them like one or two ever, but like this is the exact moment where you would say, "Hey, no, this is just a joke, guys. Let's joke about this. This is funny." That's how you would cool down the temperature.
I see the angle you're trying to come from. So you're saying that they took it down because, yeah, it was a joke, but they don't want the temperature to cool down. Because, of course, the Babylon Bee, kind of as a point of or point to your suggestion there, is that they were going to buy InfoWars. And they were going to basically turn InfoWars into another satire site to basically, in order to legitimize, I can't say the word,
Delegitimize.
legitimatize, legitimize, there he goes. Um, uh, what's his name? The guy who owns Infowars, the bald dude. I just can't
Alex
remember his name.
Jones.
But thank you, Alex Jones. Try to make him look like a fool in the long run, because a lot of people who aren't in the know, who don't really follow so a lot, would begin to see Infowars, and they would still continue to think that it was Alex Jones, and that it's all satire, and make it really think he gone off the wall.
Right. So one
But
distinction real quick.
yeah.
Who did you
Hmm.
say tried to buy InfoWars?
I thought it was Babylon Bee.
No, 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 no. I wanted to correct that. It was The Onion. And
The Onion.
yeah.
This is my crossing of
It's
wires.
okay.
Fucking TBI.
No,
But
no,
yeah,
it's fine.
okay.
I
So
wanted I wanted
that's
to look that up just because I was like, that didn't sound right.
yeah. Okay, you're right. It was the Onion, which is still along the same lines.
Yeah.
But yeah, two different companies. You're absolutely right. So that's me crossing wires. That's on my bad. Um, but yeah, this I don't know. I don't understand why they would take it down as a satire site, other than the fact that Megyn Kelly could have began to, or she may have sent them a cease and desist, or a something to that effect. Oh, I'm going to sue you because you threatened me. So they took it down.
What if it was a low hanging fruit that could have led to legal trouble later, as far as higher up in the chain? If there's this imaginary campaign going on, allegedly.
Let me say imaginary campaign.
Oh, I'm just saying, like the push for all of the messaging that's going on, like
Mm.
trying to attack Tucker and Candace, and I would see this, and I would say, okay, I know the Babylon Bee. I think this is a joke. I also think that given the environment and all of the other stuff that's going on, it might not turn out good for them, because like the America First and all of the groypers that are being created because of messaging like this.
Yeah, I see what you're saying.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, groypers are taking off, from what I can tell.
They're going, and all this does is create more of them. Because if they would have said, "Hey, this is just a joke," and landed it, that would have been all right. That's based. All right. I don't think it's funny, but like I can say, okay, that was a good one, right?
Hmm.
But you back
Yeah,
off.
and quote unquote based is the thing of the groypers. So yeah, that makes sense. No, I completely agree. No, I agree. I won't say completely, but yeah, I agree with your sentiment there. That
And
angle is definitely probable.
So Megyn Kelly, I think we looked last week, and we're gonna this is all about Tucker right now. Tucker
Hmm.
Carlson. I would I and I
They're
don't.
vilifying the hell out of him.
And Ted Cruz thinks that reposting something from Insurrection Barbie, um,
Which is interesting.
but
That she's left. She's far left, if I'm correct.
he's showing a very very old clip of Tucker Carlson. So I actually want to play the 2 minutes of this
Okay.
just for full context. But he's saying basically the old Tucker Carlson would hate the new Tucker Carlson. I have feelings about it, but I'm not gonna, you know, let's go ahead and watch it, and we'll pick it up from there.
Okay.
America's relationship with Israel. Israel has a lobby. It's perfectly fair, as far as I'm concerned, to beat up on Israel's lobby. But I don't think that's the reason that Buchanan is being labeled an anti-Semite. It's this kind of, as I've said, this relentless bringing up topics related to Judaism. I mean, famously, Pat, always beats up on Goldman Sachs, but never Morgan Stanley. I mean, it's really hard to. There is no point at which Pat Buchanan has held a press conference and said, I really don't like the Jews. I think they're a sinister force in America. But I think, and it took me years to come to this position. I mean, I'm not throwing the term anti-Semite around. But you reach a point when you say, well, gee, here's a guy who has gone out of his way to defend Demjanjuk and other accused Nazi war criminals, who's constantly attacked Israel, who's attacked American Jews for supporting Israel unduly, who's implied that American Jews push America into wars in which non-Jews die. There really is, and again, I'm not hysterical on this subject, but I do believe that there is a pattern with Pat Buchanan of needling the Jews. Is that anti-Semitic? Yeah. I mean, after a while, you conclude it is, in some sense, anti-Semitic. I mean, Pat Buchanan obviously has a lot of personal and affectionate relationships with people who are Jewish. So on a personal level, perhaps he's not. But on a different, maybe thematic level, I think he probably is. I think that people should be allowed to have differing views on immigration. I think people should be allowed to point out the fact that there is an Israeli lobby, and yes, it's powerful, and debate the merits of that, I guess. I don't think there's, strictly speaking, anything wrong with that. But again, I think Pat Buchanan is part of the reason it's so hard to have that conversation, because he discredits it by his presence, because he gives people who watch him carefully the sense that he has another agenda that has to do with personal dislike, and that he believes in conspiracies, and that he believes that the Jews are this sinister, secretly organized force trying to affect American politics. And those aren't discussions I think normal people, sober people, should be having, because I think they're ludicrous.
Huh. The last part there is interesting.
This looks to be at least 20 years ago.
Yeah, well, give or take, yeah. He looks about my age, so well, a little younger.
I think, yeah. What's your initial takeaway?
Well, my initial takeaway when I first saw this was people change their minds when they're presented with new information. And Tucker is one who will change his mind if he's presented with new information that contradicts a current view on a topic. And it's given to him in good faith, and he can verify that it is, at least on some level, true. He will change his mind. So if he's presented with new information about Israel, and it can directly contradicts most of, if not all, of what he just said, then he is completely valid in changing of his views. The fact that Ted Cruz decided to post this directly after the interview where Tucker Carlson basically raked him over the coals and kind of outed him for the fool that Ted Cruz is, he is trying. It's weird. that he's trying to pull in clips from 20 years ago and try to cancel and doing something similar that the left has done to their enemies, to his now perceived enemy, I should say. And this kind of shows like a one-track mind for Ted Cruz. It shows parsing a lot of this right now in real time. I'm thinking about it more. It kind of goes to show that a lot of people who are unable to change their mind, unable to take new information and change their decision because they're more about being right than being correct, not allowing themselves to be moldable because they feel that they think that that is weakness or they'll be ostracized from the group. There is a possibility that Ted Cruz actually somewhat agrees with, on a personal, a spiritual level, what Tucker is saying, but can't actually continue to actually be his true, genuine, authentic self within this framework because he has been paid over like 1.5 million or something like that. Don't quote me on that exact number from AIPAC. Not him, but maybe his campaigns. So the amount of quadrupling down that Ted Cruz has done on this, and well, go ahead. I could keep talking like this for hours.
No, it's fine. It's fine. I think I remember my question from earlier. If we look at, we'll go back to where we were talking about MAGA. Do you think that if you removed all of the, we'll just say currently alleged Israeli influence and social media personalities that are, receiving money on some level, not necessarily, maliciously, but receiving money on some level, without them, do you think that Republicans would have won the last election?
Yes. Solely because the amount of, well, I have to say yes, and you can kind of just look at the fact that the amount that the media had gone after Trump, the amount of misdirection, the amount of lies, the amount of lawsuits, they try to paint him as this villain, but yet enough people still went out and voted for him.
Mm-hmm.
People who would normally vote Democrat down the ticket voted Trump and then voted Democrat everything else. So yes, there is. I still think he would have won without the Israeli lobby pushing for Trump to win.
I'm not talking just Israeli lobby. I'm talking social media personalities too. I'm talking companies that were created.
Okay, sorry, I misunderstood your question.
With the underpinning that there was still support from the entertainment industry in some aspect.
Well,
I mean, content creators, that's entertainment. It falls under entertainment at some point.
yeah, the problem is that there are still a lot of people who aren't being paid that were still pushing for Trump to win.
Mm-hmm. But who had? But I'm not saying to people who were pushing for Trump to win. I'm saying right then we had. Let's just say there was the at that time there was the alliance of America First and Israel First personalities. Right, all content creators on the right were pushing the same message. There was no conflict. But if you took out like the Daily Wire and you took out all of their creators, right? Michael Knowles, Ben, you don't give all of them a platform to make the content that they did to move the needle and to spread awareness and all of that. I don't think that Trump would have been successful.
Yeah, that's something I'm going to have to parse through because I do understand from the framework you've constructed that would be it's very difficult for me to find contradictions in there.
And if
outside, well, I would say outside the fact that people were just, yeah, I see what you're saying there with the Salem media.
Mm-hmm.
But outside out of all of that, there were still enough people talking and seeing the writing on the wall when it came to the left with Joe Biden and everything else. Because, I mean, it's there's so many factors that we need to account for more than just the right, because there were people who were just everyone, not everyone, but people who voted for Trump did see the oddness that was in the Biden administration, the fact that Kamala Harris, who can't, have a coherent sentence because she's drunk all the time, allegedly, up there and making a fool out of herself. I still think that I mean, I can't say for certain that Trump would have been able to get maybe the popular vote. I think he may have been able to actually still win over Kamala Harris just because it was Kamala Harris. If it was against somebody else,
That's
that
fair.
was
That's fair.
so
That's fair.
but if it was Joe Biden versus Kamala, or not Kamala Harris, Joe Biden versus Trump, I still don't know if Trump would have lost. I still think he probably would win. But if it was against Pete Buttigieg, there might have been a no. If Pete would have went up, he would have, or Trump would have won, because Pete's gay and people are just not going to go with that in general. Um, then I'm trying to think who were the other possible contestants, so to speak. Gavin Newsom, actually, Gavin probably would have won, actually, if with existing within the framework that you were constructing before.
Right.
I think Gavin would have won.
And we're applying the reality of people that go out and vote. But what I'm saying is, if I believe that if you completely removed the level of entertainment influence that Israel has across social media platforms, I don't think the marketing and backbone would be there to have made a successful campaign. That's just a feeling. Because
there's credibility to that. I mean, obviously, there's no way we can really know. But,
right.
I mean,
It's just an idea.
Yeah, just an idea. But yeah, I mean, you make a very valid point, a very valid. It's just valid. I can't really think of another way to say it.
Don't feel bad. I got Grok to admit he was wrong. Actually, I got Grok to admit that he lied.
Yeah, I saw. Yeah, that was interesting.
We'll talk about that next week, maybe.
Yeah, the fact that he hallucinated that. Yeah,
fabricated. Yeah. Whenever we
actually raises a lot of questions. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I don't. We're not going to go on that rabbit hole. That's another one. But with Tucker here, I see the same curious, honest, based on what they know at the time, person. I don't see a difference in Tucker as far as who he is in this clip versus who he is now. So I don't think Tucker's changed. Agreed. I just think Tucker has changed because the world has changed and the information has changed. You could be, pro something 20 years ago, and then you're probably not going to be pro that thing now because it's completely flipped.
Yeah. I still think Tucker at his core is still the same person, but there's a difference between a core and a view, in my opinion. You can have your core personality, your core analytical capability, your core ability to take a look at, dissect, and form a conclusion, which is analytics or and analytical capability, whatever. But change your view because you're presented with new information. And it's a mark of intelligence, supposedly, to be able to do that. And the fact that he is seeing something out there, seeing a trend, he sees a pattern. He recognizes that pattern. And is now saying what he's seeing. But yeah, I agree. He is the same person. He just changed his mind on something.
Okay. Well, outside of the media, there's a letter here. I'll read it. Trump sends a letter to President Herzog, formally asking him to pardon Netanyahu, saying the case against him is a political, unjustified prosecution. So why is Israel asking for a pardon of Netanyahu, and why is all of this stuff happening at the same time? The attacks on Tucker and all of them are going on, and the right is being ripped in half, saying, "Oh, if you're not MAGA if you don't support Israel." But Israel's also the one that they had the moral high ground after October 7th, and then they decided to go all in Gaza, and then I think I said this before, they used up their bucket of good faith and timing, and then their people get caught in, was it Nevada, in child no stuff or underage stuff, but they protect him. It's just two thoughts, right?
Well, before you continue, sorry, I got to cut you off. What's the difference between the prime minister and the president in Israel? This is something I would not realize was there.
Let's find out.
Because the prime minister has been Netanyahu, with the president being that guy. I don't know what the difference is. Yeah, in Israel specifically.
Okay, Israel has a parliamentary system of government where the roles of president and prime minister are distinct and serve different functions. The president of Israel is ceremonial and symbolic. It represents the state of Israel nationally and internationally. It appoints the prime minister after elections, grants pardons, signs laws.
Wait. It appoints the prime minister.
Yeah. So that means the president of Israel is, I guess, has a case, or there's some kind of case against Netanyahu, and Trump's asking him to be let go or forgiven or to drop it.
Signs and appoint. Yeah, this was something I haven't.
Yeah. So the head of government. Okay, so the president is symbolic, but after an election, he assigns the prime minister, and that's the real executive power.
That is weird. I don't understand that. I mean, I understand that they're doing it, but the president is elected, and they assign the prime minister, and the prime minister is the real head of government. So, in the end, Israel is not electing their leader. They are, but they're not. This is weird. I don't understand why you would do this.
Well, it would be executive power. I don't know. That's strange. I want to read. I'm going to go ahead and read. I will read this letter for everybody real quick.
Yeah, I'm going to have to look into that more, but go ahead. Sorry.
Yeah. It's a letter from the White House signed by Donald Trump to His Excellency Isaac Herzog, President of the State of Israel, Jerusalem.
His Excellency. Sorry, go ahead.
Dear Mr. President, it is my honor to write to you at this historic time, as we have together just secured peace that has been sought for at least 3,000 years. I hereby thank you and all Israelis again for your gracious and warm hospitality, and am addressing a key topic of my speech at the Knesset. As the great state of Israel and the amazing Jewish people move past the terribly difficult times of the last 3 years, I hereby call on you to fully pardon Benjamin Netanyahu, who has been a formidable and decisive wartime prime minister, and is now leading Israel into a time of peace, which includes my continued work with key Middle East leaders to add many additional countries to the world-changing Abraham Accords. Prime Minister Netanyahu has stood tall for Israel in the face of strong adversaries and long odds, and his attention cannot be unnecessarily diverted. While I absolutely respect the independence of the Israeli justice system, it is requirements, I believe, that this case against Bibi, who has fought alongside me for a long time, including against the very tough adversary of Israel, Iran, the very tough adversary of Israel, Iran, is a political, unjustified prosecution. Isaac, we have established a great relationship, one that I am very thankful for and honored by, and we agreed as soon as I was inaugurated in January that the focus had to be centered on finally bringing the hostages home and getting the peace agreement done. Now that we have achieved these unprecedented successes and are keeping Hamas in check, it is time to let Bibi unite Israel by pardoning him and end the lawfare once and for all.
His Excellent. I'm sorry, I'm still stuck on that. I read the letter, but His Excellency. That is done. That is typically reserved for kings and monarchs
Well, I mean,
and emperors.
well, the king of Israel, president. Maybe it's just some kind of like. I'm sure it's just an honorific.
Possibly. I just sorry. That's just unusual for me.
So Netanyahu is currently on trial in a high-profile corruption case called the Netanyahu trial, where cases 1,000, 2,000, and 4,000.
And that specifically having to do with the Gaza war and supposed war crimes?
No,
Or is
no, no.
that
It says Netanyahu faces charges of bribery, fraud, and breach of trust.
I'll have to look at the evidence since
No, I haven't even heard of this. I thought it was wartime related too. So case 1,000 is fraud and breach of trust, and that's accepting luxury gifts of $700,000. Okay, Hollywood producer Aaron Milchan and Australian billionaire James Packer are the ones that allegedly gave it to him. Fraud and breach of trust case 2,000 allegedly negotiated a deal with Yediath. I don't know how to say that name. Yeah, so 1,000, 2,000, and 4,000. Those are the cases to look at. But so if I'll be devil's advocate to myself, because it's very easy to say like I'm 100% targeting Israel in this podcast, and I'm not. But I like to look at all possible avenues, and what makes sense, and what doesn't. Is there a chance that it is politically motivated, just like we saw with Trump? Because we know.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Okay.
I mean, I don't know the evidence, and I mean, I was aware there were some corruption stuff going on with Netanyahu and whatnot, but I honestly haven't looked too deep into it because I mean, I don't really dive too deep into Israel because various reasons that I can't really get into.
I try not to. It's just it's what pops up in front of me, and I have to be honest with what comes up in front of me.
I agree, but I see what you're saying, but I mean, it could be trumped up charges, no pun intended. It could be completely legit that if he actually did do this, of course he should face justice for it. But I'm trying to think more along the lines of why Trump would want to pardon him or has asked to have him pardoned, because you got the angle of Netanyahu has some blackmail against Trump, because I'm seeing a lot of that come out of this, because I have seen some things come across my timeline about it, which I not gonna add any credence to it or say that it is credible. It's just that people are saying, and people are saying a lot of stuff nowadays. I don't believe, I should say, anything that comes across my timeline and take it as what it is. But it could also be Trump legitimately thinks what's going on there is this, and all the stuff that's coming out about Netanyahu is, political theater. But
or Epstein was Mossad.
Yeah, that was another angle I was eventually going to get into, but yeah. It's going to be very interesting what's going to happen, because if they have, I think it was like Congress has their 218 or however many signatures they need in order to force the release immediately.
Yeah, let's see how that happens. Let's see if that really happens. I'll believe it when I see it.
Yeah, I just don't know the dynamic between the court system versus Congress and versus the president, how that's going to work. The Democrats have stopped the immediate release because they have the signatures. So they're trying to delay the release as long as possible. Is what it looks like to me on the Democrats. They're not going to be able to, supposedly. But I'm not sure how the fact that a judge has sealed a lot of the documents from the judicial side, I don't know if Congress has the ability to overwrite that or not, which may be exactly what the 218 signatures is. But the fact that the Democrats did try to release a email that was already released.
Was it Virginia
and
Dufresne?
yeah, where they put victim and redacted the name to make it look like that, Trump was spending a lot of time with this individual.
Yep.
But Virginia Dufresne, from what I understand, used to work for Trump. And of course, she came out and said that, he was nothing but, a proper gentleman, never, abused me or anything else, and never even flirted with me, is what she was saying.
Yep.
She has multiple, testimonies and recorded, verifiable facts of this. So, in fact, they tried to do that and they were caught. The fact that they thought they could get away with it, it seems to me they did it intentionally to obviously to deflect from what's going on, try to create a media storm to kind of cover up something else possibly, or draw attention away from something else that has been recently reported on.
Or now they can say, well, we tried voting for it before. They're trying to have these other conditions. I think they're going to swap sides. I think they were voting for it because it was convenient to create the headline to put pressure on. I mean, I don't know.
Yeah, that's definitely because there was a point where the Republicans were pushing for it for a while. Then they went to the Democrats to push for it for a while. Now it's back to the Republicans to push for it for a while. And from what I understand is that the 218 members of Congress, there are Republicans and Democrats who have signed on to this. I don't know. I don't have a listing to verify that 100%. But the fact that there is a large group of people who just don't want it out, and they're doing this political theater back and forth in order to gain sway or to create more discourse or just create a sentiment of, I don't know, distraction. It's all a distraction.
There's a lot of
the Epstein files.
Yeah. Because remember, it was like, oh, it's coming out. It's on my desk. I have these media influence here. They have binders with all the information that's already come out. And there's going to be more. And then it's like, oh, what list? The list isn't real. I'm sorry, dude. Like, okay, so either we really have, okay, I'm going to give you a false dilemma. All right. There's more than two answers. So I'm going to present it as a false dilemma. We either have really good guys in office that are playing really good PSYOP games and they are on top of their shit and the country is safe, or we're fucked.
Well, I don't know if you saw that I actually got a response from Kramer Says, which is a guy who I've been watching a lot of his stuff come across my feed on X. And he's just straight up calling out the left and all their bullshit. And he also has been calling out some of the right stuff and their bullshit, but most of the left. And he brought out something about the Epstein list and how Democrats have blocked it. And I actually posed a question to him. I said, I'm legitimately asking this question. It's in good faith. What if Trump hasn't released it because he is using it to blackmail people in order for them to use them to use the leverage against them to get certain things done with his agenda and he wouldn't be able to do otherwise? Or he's doing it because he hasn't released it, because by releasing it, it would basically take down the whole of Western civilization because of the amount of high profile people in there, and it would just completely delegitimize the American government or something along those lines.
Did you present those as separate ideas or the same idea?
Yes. Well, I said 1, 2.
Oh, so they sound like they belong together.
Well, it's like 1, 2 are together. Is kind of.
Oh, right.
So, and he, straight up just no. They can continue to diddle kids while they're being blackmailed, and as a aspect I hadn't considered. It's like if they're on the list and being blackmailed, I don't think that they would be continue doing what they're doing. But
I'm sorry, that doesn't track as a response. That's not a good response.
I kind of saw it. Well, I agreed with him the fact that they shouldn't, be allowed to do it and they need to be brought to justice immediately. I agree. That was basically his point. He doesn't care. They need to be brought up. It needs to be done. Let the world burn if these people are running the world. So it can be rebuilt. It's kind of how I took it, his response, because just based upon what I've been seeing from him and his other, um, the context of who he is.
Hmm.
So I do agree that it was a kind of a non-response, but his whole thing is that we need to protect the children. And from that angle, within that perspective, within the framework there, I completely agree with them.
Oh yeah, I mean,
Um,
if
but
it's, I think that there's a growing number of people starting to feel the way that you just expressed. It's let the world burn. Just let the truth come out and let it be over with. I think people are just tired of the obvious games, and I think that's the problem. Normal people are starting to recognize the games, and the kids are on top of it, and they're just like, this is bullshit. Like, I'm not going to do this. I'm going to say and do whatever I need to do to make my future better. And that is
yep,
what's ushering in the groypers.
yeah, 100%.
But at what
And
point do you get enough groypers versus the other side? At that point, you have your sides picked in the extremes. That's when I think the civil war happens.
well, the Civil War will begin when under a single event, and I don't know what the single event's going to be. It could be anywhere between just another person gets assassinated, another riot breaks out that just expands and keeps expanding. It could be around the midterm elections when there is obvious cheating being done by one side or another. I mean, more likely the left versus the right, but I'm not going to say the right won't do it either. So it's like we've said multiple times in the past few weeks, is that it's a powder keg, but there's a match lit. It's just being dangled over the damn keg right now, but it hasn't been dropped completely, but it looks like it's about to be. But
No,
it's but it's
there's still some pieces that need to move. Things aren't divided enough yet.
well, what I mean is that it's being dangled as if it's threatening that the keg is going to be like, it's kind of like going, oh,
I'm not gonna touch you. I'm
oh,
not touching you. I'm
not
not
going to touch
touching
you.
you.
Yeah, that type of mentality, which creates anxiety, which creates tension, which creates this atmosphere of distraction. So, I mean, do I think a civil war is going to happen in the very near future, like the next few months? Probably not. Is it eventuality? I do think it is an eventuality, but to what extent, I can't say. But it is interesting the fact that, Trump does have the National Guard in a bunch of major cities, and they have quick reaction forces of at least 500 people in every state now. Or at least they were being told, they were directed by, Pete Hegseth, Secretary of War, to begin to prepare for that. Or he gave out the orders to begin making these quick reaction forces. So there is a possibility that something is going to be happening very soon because the chessboard is being placed. It's not there yet. But once we recognize that a lot of pieces are in advantageous places for, Trump's government, then he may actually straight up use the Insurrection Act, because even now Antifa is considered an international terrorist organization.
Mm-hmm. Framework's there
And
now.
I did see today that the German intelligence apparatus came out on a tweet on their official um, Twitter page saying that we are Antifa.
Oh yeah, yeah. That German group.
So
I saw that this morning. I think.
I don't Well, I mean, I can't verify that is, official German, intelligence or military or something like that.
No, I just thought it
I
was a
only,
German Antifa group.
well, there's a German influencer who I follow. I can't remember her name because I can never remember non-English names. But she's like an attractive woman who basically has been targeted by the government, and she's like, I think she is a actual refugee inside the United States, if memory serves correctly.
Oh, her. Yeah, yeah, yeah. The
Yeah,
blonde. Yeah, yeah.
yeah.
She seeked what is it, political asylum, I think.
Yes, and she was saying that this is like an official government military run account, and they just admitted that they're Antifa right after, Antifa was designated as a multinational terrorist organization. I don't know what the implication of that's going to be, if anything at all. So I'm just going to kind of wait. I'm not going to
Well,
speculate on how
hold
that's
on,
going to
hold on.
go
I
because
want to
I
make
don't
sure. I want
know.
to make sure I heard that right. So the girl was attached to that account, or the account was one of the
Sorry.
people trying to go after her?
She said that this is a government account, and they just admitted that they're Antifa. She
What
was saying that. I don't know if
okay, hold on, hold on.
what she's claiming is
What do you
true or
mean?
not.
What this is a government? He said she said this is a government account. She's referencing another account or one she was using.
Okay, yeah, she was referencing another account.
Okay.
Um, she basically quote tweeted the account, that government account, who said we are Antifa, and she
Mm,
claimed it was a government account.
mm.
Um, sorry for the confusion there.
Okay.
As I'm thinking through this, I probably messed up the context. But so I'm not sure what's going to happen with that, if anything.
Well,
But
there are
I did find that unusual.
yeah, there are various, I guess, parties in German politics. From what I understand, there's like, I think like their conservative party is like the AfD party. I don't think
Hmm.
that. I think that would be more in line with, I guess, the right wingers over here, at least for right now.
Yes, the AfD has actually, from what I last saw, 32% support, but they have been made ineligible for the next election or something like that for some reason.
Mm.
So yeah, there's a growing sentiment in Germany of a civil war happening there. So that's another point too, along the same lines of the Civil War. If one starts in the United States, it is going to explode in other countries.
I think it'll happen in other countries before it happens in the U.S. The U.S. is usually really, really slow to react.
I agree, and I don't know. I was just thinking that if one were to happen inside the United States first, the
It would
people
destabilize
around the
everything.
world,
Yeah, you destabilize
yeah,
the U.S., you
completely.
destabilize everything, and then you would have to have a new group
Is
to
that the
lean on.
point?
Probably. I mean,
Is,
destabilizing the U.S. has always been a goal of enemies. You can't like.
well,
I mean, that's why they said you aren't going to defeat America militarily from the outside. At
mhm,
least like
yeah,
that used to be entirely true. And it's like, oh, it'll only fall from within. I mean, that's pretty much how we ended up with I think half of our politicians.
no, 100%. The I guess the point I'm trying to make with that, or I made about the sorry, I'm trying to remember what I was trying to think. That's what I was going to say. Um, the fact that we have the four different groups now that we identified earlier,
Mm-hmm.
creating the destabilization to if we take down the United States or take down or a armed conflict inside the United States within itself, against itself, I should say, occurs that will destabilize the rest of the planet, which would then allow for the one world government type situation to occur.
Hmm.
So I think that perhaps, I don't think, there is a framework that I can construct that has Israel trying to destabilize the United States so they could eventually become, or those who control Israel, or those who are in the WEF, the powers that be, the 13 family bloodlines, or whatever, who are said to actually control the planet. So they could actually take complete control over the planet and usher in digital ID and everything else, or like they're just trying to destabilize everything at this point.
Mm-hmm.
So ultimately, that may be the water on the other side of the dam that I keep talking about.
It's,
Is yeah.
we generally don't talk much about this stuff outside of actually doing it here. So you
Mm.
you come to we seem to think in the same general direction sometimes. But I
Yeah.
guess yeah, go ahead.
Real quick along those lines, just for full disclosure, we don't necessarily discuss the ideas. We do make comments, but we mostly just send stuff back and forth to each other. Mostly like just links to put up for what we're doing now for the podcast to kind of like possible topics to discuss.
Yeah.
Yeah, but you and I don't discuss this outside of here. So for context, for those who actually end up listening to this sometime in the future, so we don't plan like how we're going to discuss this. It
The
just
great
kind of happens.
yeah, the great thing
Yeah.
is this: you don't have to wait 9 months for these babies to be birthed here. These ideas come out every day.
Oh
Um,
man.
oh man, I just offended. Oh, I just offended the pro death rally. Damn. All right. So,
Pro death rally.
all right. So
Oh shit. Okay, go ahead.
we're gonna circle it back over to the U.S. now, and I, it's in the same vein just because of shenanigans in government. It goes back to the pipe bomb that was placed for January 6th, and the person that allegedly managed to make it through all of the streets without getting caught by any cameras because they couldn't find any at the time, and it was a fake bomb anyways. But they finally allegedly found the person, and it was a former Capitol police officer.
A Capitol police officer during the time the bomb was placed, or was she formally after?
From Blaze Media, former Capitol police officer, a forensic match for January 6th pipe bomber, sources say. It used pretty much gate recognition. Yeah.
Yeah,
Shawnee Ray Kirchhoff, 31.
I do remember seeing something about how they had behavioral analysis of it. Analysts come on, and it was this is secondhand from the guy who was talking about it. He stated that all the behavioral analysis, like they recognized the gait and how I guess she acted, and just the manner in which she moved around was identical and fairly unique to her for some reason. So
Interesting. Well, I'd recommend everyone go over to the Blaze and check this out. Yeah, they use gait analysis. That's kind of scary, but I mean, we saw that in one of the what were those movies? The racing movies, not Need for Speed, was it?
I don't know what you're talking about.
The one that had like Vin Diesel and like the FBI dude that died.
Oh, the Too Fast or the Fast and the Furious type
Yeah, that's
stuff.
it. Those series. Yeah. Whenever it was like, oh, you could tell like how far down or how much weight was on the truck just based on the spring suspension. Like if it had a bunch of gold in it, it would be closer to the ground because the springs would be compressed. Gait
Yeah,
analysis.
I mean, technically that is true. However, that is very Hollywoodized because the problem is you have the wear and tear and a lot of other stuff that is on that will actually change that. However, if you're able to get access to some kind of records where that last time the car was serviced, stuff like that, you would be able to do a mathematical formula to find that kind of information that is within their own possibility. But what you just said is extremely Hollywoodized, though. But yeah,
I'm gonna read this two sentences here.
yeah. Say it again.
From just 2 lines in the article, and I want everyone to go read the whole thing. It says the pipe bomb video that Blaze News used in its analysis was not the footage released by the FBI. A video sleuth who embarked on a more than a year-long investigation told Blaze News the footage made public by the FBI was manipulated to downsample the frame rate. I may or may not have had that at some point. Although it shows the same scene as the FBI video, the clip used by Blaze News came from another source and is demonstrably clearer with much smoother motion. Yeah, the one that I saw was super chopped up.
Yep. Yeah, they always say whenever they release something like that, if there is, they always manipulate it because they have to put fragmentation in it. They have to pixelate it because it, obviously obscures. And if you're trying to do a conspiracy operation, then like this is, then yeah, you have to. Yeah, it's obvious. Sorry, it's like I saw that when I saw the original video of the pipe bomber going in. I did think, okay, in the age of 4K, in the fucking capital of the United States, they still have a grainy video. No, I don't believe it. So the same thing with the Charlie Cook assassination. So they always release the grainy videos because that's what the public is used to seeing.
I think that's what
And people just accept
that's
it.
yeah, it's people accepting it.
Yeah, and then they just accept it. And if you push back, oh, you're crazy, you're a conspiracy theorist. It's sorry, I could
No,
go on
no.
that
Well,
gambit for hours as
no,
well.
I mean, I'm gonna play the devil's advocate. To be fair, if you were an intelligent agency or you were in some kind of role like that, if you were, you could maybe say there's some super concocted plan that it's part of, an actual operation, right? Maybe not something that we can tangibly see all of the pieces of. But I mean, in order to convince Americans to do a certain thing, sometimes you would want to lie to them to get them to move a certain direction, but that's still manipulating them versus just giving them the truth. However,
Well,
we live in a
like
world where people
so,
can't really accept the truth.
let's put it this way. There's something I can say, but I got to be very fucking careful in how I say it. I once had intelligence in my hand while in the military that was directly contradicting something that was on Fox News.
Well, I mean,
I
duh,
can't
it's Fox
elaborate,
News.
but I'm saying as from a first-hand account. Well, it's on Fox News, CNN, MSNBC, Al Jazeera, BBC. Like, trust me, I went and verified and checked
Mhm.
because it was the first time since I was in the military that I could definitively say, like, I had it in my hand during a meeting saying, they're like, what is going on here? And I was basically told to sit down and shut up. So, yeah,
So
I
there's
can say for a fact that happens.
okay. So maybe we shouldn't always look at a situation as, oh, this is evil, but we can still assess it for we're not getting the information.
Correct.
But at what point do we accept that, well, there's no way to ever really know whether it's true or not because we don't have all the information? At what point do we no longer accept lack of transparency, especially from people that have claimed that they're going to be the most transparent or the most transparent in history? I mean,
Well, they aren't lying. They're just not as transparent as everybody wants them to be. I'm not
opacity of like 50%. Yeah.
versus versus like 10% of what we've seen before. Yeah, that's just. I mean, so yes, they are. Trump is actually being one of the more transparent presidencies, but it's still not to the level that what American people want to see, the full disclosure. And there are reasons for that. There are reasons for what you even just said is there are operations that are being conducted. And as far as we know, this whole thing could be a massive military operation. And it's all a massive psyop in order to going way on the limb here, to um, convince the American people to accept something that's going to happen in the near future, like maybe some kind of alien invasion, or I mean that's just way out there. But so this whole thing could be a decade-long military operation going on for all we know. I have no access to it. I have no information on that, but it's just a possibility.
Well, I mean, the
And
world's
that is
the world's
something that's
drastically
good.
changed with technology in the last 10 or 20 years too.
Yeah.
It's hard to say. But I generally just get a really scummy feeling from certain kinds of people, and I'm usually right about them.
So, but obviously you don't get that from me, which is good to hear.
No.
So,
if I felt that way about you, I wouldn't do the show with you.
exactly, and vice versa. So,
All right. So
but yeah,
we have
it's just
yeah.
it's just weird. I'm just sorry. I'm just as we talk about this stuff, I have the gears are turning and stars are aligning in my head, so to speak, and it's just a lot of things are just pointing in a direction that's just hmm, difficult for me to voice, or I should say I don't want to voice type of thing.
Fair enough.
Hmm.
So regarding the FBI J6 pipe bomb investigation, there was a whistleblower, and Thomas Massie sent out a letter saying to make sure that whistleblowers are protected, and there was apparently a response from Bongino. Actually, maybe I can pull it up quick.
I did see the response. I don't remember what he said exactly 100%, but I did read through it.
Let's see if I can pull that up quick.
I think it was basically that this is standard operating procedure, that we're not doing any kind of hunting down. This is so that we can understand the perspective or something along those lines.
Oh, it's funny. I'm not able to search for his FBI one.
It may have been taken down. Or shadow banded or something along those lines.
Nope, there it is.
All right, good.
Let's see here. Oh, here we go. Response to Thomas Massie. Congressman Massie, when Director Patel and I entered on duty in our leadership positions in the FBI, we had our hands full, but we were happy to be part of the president's team, and we still are, despite the multitude of challenges. I'll just hold on. Little bitty. Yeah, there we go. Despite the multitude of challenges we faced, one of our first initiatives was to aggressively pursue a new strategy to investigate the January 6th pipe bomb terror attack. We brought in new personnel to take a look at the case. We flew in police officers and detectives working as task force officers to review FBI work. We conducted multiple internal reviews, held countless in-person and SVTC meetings with investigative team members. We dramatically increased investigative resources. We increased the public blah, 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 blah. Sorry, I should read the whole thing. I shouldn't do that. That's bad. All right, I'll restart the sentence. Sorry. SVTC meetings with investigative team members. We dramatically increased investigative resources, and we increased the public award for information in the case to utilize crowdsourcing leads. This is only a small sample of the work the FBI personnel and leadership team have put together in this critical investigation. When I spoke with you yesterday, a little after 8 a.m. Eastern Time, I offered you an in-person brief on our work. We spoke for 10 minutes. I called you back a bit after 7:30 p.m. Eastern Time to again make that offer. You didn't answer and have yet to call me back. Despite this, you continue to imply that the director and I are targeting investigators in this case. This is disgusting, even by the low standards many have for politicians. Well, that's pretty fair.
Pretty scathing, actually.
I mean, I don't hold politicians in very high regard. I mean, if they're good ones, yeah, but I would like to feel good about my politicians. I would love to be excited about my politicians. They just all suck.
And keep in mind real quick before you continue, the fact that he said that it is an ad hominem attack.
Mm-hmm.
So it is that does discredit a lot of what he's saying. I'm not saying he completely discredits it, but it does add. I don't like the way he did that. And he's also not really parroting, maybe taking a page out of Kash Patel's playbook when it comes to the way that he discloses that we had all these personnel and doing this and doing that. Doesn't actually add a whole lot of substance to the argument.
That's obfuscation.
So, but he was about the fact that this was about the pipe bomb whistleblower, that someone came forward with it or something,
right?
To make sure I understand.
So on the letter from Attorney Kurt Sizudak, third paragraph, it says, today the leadership of the FBI Washington Field Office notifies its management that there will be a management meeting tomorrow at 10 a.m. It was obvious from the information provided by senior leadership in the Washington Field Office that this meeting is an attempt to identify the FBI whistleblower who made the protected disclosure to the U.S. Congress.
Well,
so I think
what's the evidence for that?
The whistleblower, I think, is someone who made this.
Well, what I mean is, what is the evidence that they have to make the claim that it is obvious that it is for that? because they're not presenting any evidence. They're just making a statement that this is the obvious for this reason. I'm not saying they're wrong.
I think what they're doing is they're pointing out that there was a management meeting tomorrow. Maybe it was. I think that it was actually intended to identify the whistleblower. The attempt by the assistant director and other senior leadership in the Washington field office to identify the whistleblower is a reprisal and violation. So I think he's just straight up accusing them of, you're holding a meeting to identify the whistleblower.
But what is the evidence that the meeting was stated for that? Because from what I gathered from the letter, it was just saying a emergency meeting was held. The person, secure disclosure. On November 11th, the Congress received the protection disclosure. Today, the leadership of the FBI field office notified his management that there will be a management meeting tomorrow at 10 a.m. It was obvious from the information provided by senior leadership to the okay. So they have that information, but they're not disclosing what that information is.
But but this is the attorney, I'm assuming, for the whistleblower.
If that is the case, then I understand why they didn't take out or they didn't put in that information.
Because I mean, if you're also talking a court of law, that would be in the discovery, and that wouldn't be presented in a letter like this.
Yeah. So okay, that's kind of that was the disconnect I was having. Okay. If it is for the lawyer or the lawyer for the whistleblower, then yeah, I can understand that.
Yeah, I think that's the case. I think that makes the most sense based on what we see right now.
Yeah.
But I just found it strange. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was probably going to say the same thing here, but it is strange that they are trying to find the whistleblower, if that is the case. That they would go out of their way to do that.
Does that mean that the FBI hasn't changed?
It's a strong indicator. It is evidence of it. Proof, no. But the thing about it is that the FBI has changed, but maybe not to the point where the American populace would like to see it at. It's still very political. It's still very... there's still a lot of secrecy to it, which I understand it is the investigative arm of the federal government. So there does need to be some secrecy with it.
Yeah, but they seem to spend more time investigating American citizens than they do like the crimes that they used to do.
I don't disagree.
I mean, based on just, I guess, public perception. I know that there has been operational successes, that they've put out information on. So I'm going to get credit where credit's due. But I'm not seeing the image of the FBI that used to exist that I want to exist yet.
Well, the image that used to exist was propagandized and Hollywoodized quite a bit. So I suspect, well, I mean, you really want to get back into the the Hoover days. I'll just say it that way. There was a lot of political stuff going on then, even back then. But I mean, I can't speak to specific instances. I just remember reading and digesting a lot of different information about how the FBI has basically always been this way. And there's reasons for it, not necessarily good reasons, not necessarily bad reasons, but
I think
they are better, at least like you said, facing them than they have it in the past. But there's still a lot of questions that'll never be answered, or I'll say never, but likely not to be answered in the near future. So go ahead.
I don't think there'll be answers that we ever get.
There will be some we'll never get, absolutely, or not within our lifetime that we'll ever actually learn. But
so, the connection between this and the next article is our FBI director Kash Patel. This guy, Elijah Schaffer, I found this week. He criticized Israel, and I guess that he called Alexis Wilkins, which is Kash Patel's girlfriend, wife, a honeypot. I mean, he's getting sued for $5 million, and he's apparently been getting a bunch of flack and like getting doxxed, and he's had to move apparently. And I think it's because they're saying like she's like a honeypot for the Mossad, but she's like 28 years old. Cash is, I think, 45. So 18-year difference. I didn't know who she was before really, today to start looking into her, but apparently like a country music Western singer. But that's what I
I
think kind
know
of.
very little about her.
Yeah, so she's suing him. So Kash Patel, the FBI director's girlfriend, wife, is suing him for calling her like a Mossad agent. But again, like I could maybe say, hey, if I was looking to get my music career going more just to get some kind of publicity, I mean, you could maybe go that route. I don't think it's a good one. But why don't actually let's let him open this up. It's just, this was one of those stories that kind of popped out, and I was like, why would they be attacking this particular person, right? Like he's got almost 1 million followers, but
over the weekend, I received concerning news that I was being sued for $5 million by Kash Patel's girlfriend, Alexis Wilkins. And the reason why might actually shock you. About a couple months ago, I posted this photo on the public social media platform X. I posted it with no caption, no suggestions of any malintent or any slander, defamation, or criticisms of character. I did so attached to an X post shared by another account that I'm not connected to that talked about government agents being compromised. Now Alexis Wilkins is saying that I owe her $5 million for damages, the exact evaluation of my company, and if I cannot come up with that money, that I'm going to have to shut down my business, give up all of my digital assets and my entire voice online in order to pay her back. So why does Kash Patel's girlfriend want to silence me? Well, it comes down to the lawsuit itself. Before anyone jumps to conclusions and says, well, don't say that she's a honeypot, I'd like to say, I never did. I never would. I never felt like suggesting that, never even suggested that in my own head. So why am I being sued for something I never did? To give proof of that, in section 14 of the lawsuit, it states, while the defendant may not have included any caption to spell out the meaning of his post, he didn't have to. Ever since Kash Patel was appointed as director of the FBI in February of 2025, the conspiratorial corners of the internet and social media have been spreading false narratives about Miss Wilkins as an Israeli Mossad agent, spy, or quote, honeypot, who is only in the relationship with Kash Patel to spy on and manipulate the United States government. Defendant's wordless reply, it goes on to say. So to clarify, before we go any further, if you post a public photo of a government official and his romantic partner, who he's not married to, very important fact we'll talk about, you as a private citizen or a member of the press can be bankrupted, have your entire company shut down, or completely mocked, slandered, and dragged through lawfare because of what? Because of your First Amendment protected rights. Now, I believe that this lawsuit is not only an attack on our First Amendment and our constitutional rights given to us by God, but I believe this is also a violation of SLAPP ordinances. This seems to be a proxy lawsuit, if anything, from Kash Patel himself, and I have the evidence to prove it. We'll start here by talking about...
So I'm not going to go ahead and go to the whole thing.
Yeah.
It looks like the Sandy Hook thing with Alex Jones almost, but like just from a completely different angle as far as like the end result of destruction. But why would the girlfriend of Kash Patel do that? Even though if what he's saying is absolutely true, right? And I haven't gone into all of the details, right?
This looks like an example. Or, yeah, this is an example. Because, how do I say this? This lawsuit's not going to go anywhere because I just don't see it. actually holding up to scrutiny, because the problem is that the burden of proof is on the accuser, and they have to prove that his intent is what they are claiming. And they can't really do that, in my opinion, but that doesn't mean the judge won't see it that way.
Also doesn't mean that he won't suffer financial penalties and damages as a result of the lawfare either.
Exactly. So I think the process is the punishment here. It's and they're using this guy who's not exactly very large, may not necessarily have the huge amount of resources to fight it like some other people could, and trying to use it as a way to scare other people from making these kind of comments because they are influential.
But he didn't even do.
Not
If all he
him.
did was post a picture with, based on someone else's post, that's that indirection that is like, why? Is either attention seeking from I would say at this point a stupid woman, if that's in fact the case, or like it seems more likely. I don't know.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's another one of the frameworks that can exist for this. But the framework, I mean, I'm just the framework that comes to mind for me is the fact that this is trying to be used as an example. I don't know if it's to prevent. That's the Israel angle, though. Again, because this goes back to Israel,
Exactly.
and it could be just Israel trying to, again, from the framework, trying to put threaten. That's the best way to put it. This is Israel's way of indirectly threatening all other media influencers to stop talking about Israel in a negative light. It's a very authoritarian type of move. Again, I'm not saying this is what Israel is doing just from the framework, but it's kind of what it looks like.
So you think that there's maybe some substance or merit to it being more than just someone angry about defamation? You think this might actually be
Yes.
politically motivated at some point?
Yes, and they're kind of using him as an example because he was convenient. Because he has a large enough reach that he does have enough followers that he, has a business that is big enough that can be seen, but not so big to be able to fight it very well for a prolonged period of time. And it would, again, prove as a deterrent for other people to make similar statements that may go against in like an Israeli operation, let's say.
Yeah, he's big enough to break through a narrative just by himself.
But he's not so big to be able to fight it for a prolonged period of time.
Exactly. Yeah, that
So
tracks.
he's the perfect one to be a quote fall guy or
Sacrificial.
well, not really sacrificial, intimidating vector.
Hmm.
I think it's what it's called, to act as a example of what they can do to you.
Yeah, but seeing stuff like this just motivates me to be more curious and dig deeper.
Which is fine. They don't care about that. They
Hmm.
care about the fact that you continue to pursue this type of thing and you're big enough to have some kind of modicum of influence, we're going to come after you. Like, they're not going to come after you or I, at least not yet.
At least try to offer
we
us
talk
money
about-
first, please.
Yeah, I mean, but he's big enough for it to come that he's seen that he has a big enough reach, that he has a big enough amount of influence that other influencers of approximate size, up and down slightly, would begin to have second thoughts about what they're doing. This is a control campaign, I think.
Interesting.
In the end, I don't think it's going to go anywhere if the letter of the law is applied, if proper justice is served. I don't think it's going to go anywhere. But again, it's a civil case,
Mm-hmm.
not a criminal one.
I mean, we saw what happened with
So-
Trump's civil case.
Yeah, but I don't see that. there is a parallel there, but not a big enough one
Yeah.
to really compare them.
No, they're in
But
different
I do see your
different worlds.
point.
Yeah, they're in different worlds.
Yeah,
So I
yeah.
I
But
guess
that's what I think it is.
so I think a large amount of people look at this or will look at this and say, hey, it kind of smells a little bit political. What do you think people's responses are in the creative space?
I don't know. This could go multiple ways.
I am
Oh, I suspect they went fucking off the wall and started really going into Cash Patel and the honeypot thing now.
we might get in trouble for the. I'm gonna probably have to bleep out words, but all right.
Oh wait. Oh god. I don't know. Oh, I see what this is. Okay.
Yeah. So this is a
I don't know if you want to play this, but
I'll play a little bit of it just so that I mean I want to be able to present it fairly. You know, if people want to consume it in its entirety, you can go to the Foundring X account. He's a composer, and I believe he's the one that made this. It's silly and it's making fun of Winnie the Pooh and Honey, and it's pointing out it's playing into the absurdity of the situation. Because again, if you're gonna sue somebody over something like this, you're gonna get backlash. I mean, you're getting attention for it. So I mean, hey, I didn't know that you were a country music singer until this morning. So hey.
Honey, 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 honey.
okay.
Hold on. He's talented.
Don't deny that.
Alexis is my honey, she been assigned to me. The sweetest little honey pot I fill with hot curry. I'm true Hindu with crossed eyes, uncompromised. Are you surprised she's attracted to this 40-something skinny Apu? Are you? Alexis is...
So I don't want to ruin it for her, but you guys can go watch the whole thing yourself. The guy is talented, and I mean, I think that she opened herself up to this criticism by doing this.
Yep, she did.
So I can't.
But again, if she is some kind of Israeli asset, if she really is a honeypot, and it tracks that if she is, that they would go after someone like that guy to use them as an example. I mean, it does add significant amount of credence to that possibility. So,
well, there's a lot of ways that it could be taken. I think that's we'll just have to watch and see what happens, because I mean I think it looks so intentional. Like, I wouldn't do something like that because I know what the blowback would be. Like you have to know that there's going to be some kind of response, or like maybe you don't understand the world right now. And that's true. I don't in some ways. I mean, it could be.
that is one thing that I do have a problem with, is trying to understand how other people can view the world or see these things or understand the reaction differently than us, especially someone who is in a relationship with the director of the FBI of the United States. How can she not, at least from talking with Cash about not realizing what would happen?
Maybe.
How would he, as someone who just does a significant amount of investigations, not be able to see this outcome?
I don't know. I guess we'll see if it keeps holding traction. But there, Elijah Schaffer, he's one that I want to watch. See how that plays out. I mean, of course, we're going to continue to talk about pretty much anything that comes up because no subject is off limits here. I don't care who you
Yeah.
are. I mean, I'm about being honest and just asking the questions. We don't have to agree. And I mean, if this ever happened to me, I mean, if this was me, I would double the fuck down. Sorry.
Yeah.
I don't want to. I don't ever want to because I'm like, hey, let's have an honest
here's the fun
conversation.
thing. Here's the real fun thing. She's opened up to discovery now. He can now request anything that may be relevant enough to, well, hold on. Because he didn't make any direct claims, there's really nothing to discover against.
Mm-hmm. He's just defending.
That in
It
itself.
looks like he's just defending himself. So there's like really nothing to fight back against.
Well, the problem is that when you have any kind of suit like this, discovery, that you would be able to get anything related to what they claim you have done.
Right, like how she
But-
can't, like the conversation she had that led up to her making this decision to sue him based on the information. Like what led her to see it this way, or what conversations took place. But I think
so-
that'll be stonewalled then, just because of the backing that it allegedly has at this time.
I just don't think this is going to go anywhere. I mean, I would be surprised if a judge saw this, being like, he never said anything. He just put, yeah, he did this. I mean, yeah, you can imply, you can project this thought onto it. Holy shit. That's it. The simple fact that they are projecting the meaning of it onto it is in itself like shooting herself in the foot and that, oh my God, she's an idiot.
Well, it's so bad it looks intentional.
No, hold on. Think about this for a moment.
Okay.
The only way that they can because, God, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to parse this through in my mind right now. So from what he said, from the statements that he read off from the document for the lawsuit, was saying that because others are saying these kind of things, and the fact that he just did this image, a quote image, after somebody else made a statement, he could have just been putting that up there for a meme, for a laugh, or going along with other people. But the simple fact that she thinks that this was what he was doing, basically inputting her own bias into the situation, putting her words into his mouth and trying to sue him, straight up implicates her that it might actually be true. Because she is projecting this onto him because he made no actual statement.
Based on what we've seen.
Mm-hmm.
Now,
based with the information that's been presented to us. So there is...
So far,
So
I mean,
she is a
just so
Mossad
we're
agent?
clear,
She
just so we're clear, there's more information to dig into here. Just what we presented here today.
Yeah. So, I don't know. It unless he's made some kind of post in the past directly saying it, then then she would have, some ability with this lawsuit. But if he has never made a statement ever about her being a honeypot, or maybe he just, yeah.
It seems to be just like some internet thing, because I mean, that's just kind of the, I guess, joke going around, because I mean, you'd never be able to prove it.
Yeah. So yeah, and he could just be. I mean, his defense of making this was satire. This was meant to be a joke. This I didn't say anything because I didn't believe it. That alone is a defense because she has to prove that he actually meant it. So, because the burden of proof is on the accuser. I think it's just lawfare. The punishment is the crime, or not the punishment. The lawsuit is the punishment. The process is the punishment. So
yeah, I just thought it was funny that the running connection through all of these things is Israel on all of the topics today. At least,
but yeah, because it's the anti-Semitism. So, well, I don't think it's anti-Semitism.
I think it's I
Personally.
think they're trying to create it just like they were trying to create racism before.
Mm.
I don't think there's enough supply to meet the demand.
Yeah. I mean, of course, you have Nick Fuentes with the gropers and everything else, but, well, he does straight up say the Jews multiple times in a lot of his stuff. So they're,
Yeah, but I mean, there's a thing between being entertainment and being shocking and all of that. I mean, there's a lot of nuance and like that goes into conversations. The nuance and the little things matter, but that's where people don't like to spend the time. People just want to get the title and not read the body of it. But I get
there's actually, sorry, along those lines, there have been multiple articles who have made a claim in the title and contradicted it in the body.
I mean, that's most news articles. Or they go back, or they lie the first time and then they stealth edit it later to fix it. Oh, it was right this whole time. I guess we'll give some homework for people that listen if they've made it this far. I'm not going to play this. I just want to touch over it briefly, and then we'll end this segment. From Blaze TV, Glenn Beck goes through a list of like the 9 steps or the 9 indicators of like a civil war happening, and I would recommend everyone go watch this. I think it's a pretty understandable, digestible, intellectual approach to it. I don't agree with all of it. I see certain aspects, but it's you sent this to me initially, but for everyone that wants to look at it, it's on Blaze TV on YouTube, and it's called Joe Rogan Warns of Civil War, and this ominous list of events agrees. So I'm going to pick at it real quick just on the title, saying Joe Rogan Warns of Civil War. Well, I mean, you're Blaze TV. Like, I know that people like, oh, this person said that, I'm going to make it all about them so I can, use that star power because this person matters and has influence. And I get it. I just can't do that to myself in my titles, and I'll do my best to never, ever, I guess, mark it that way, even though it's successful. But the information I think is good here. So you sent this to me, and I wanted to give you a chance just to touch on it briefly and then go ahead and close us out of the segment.
Yeah, it tracks. A lot of stuff what he says, tracks. I mean, I would say make your own assessment. Just listen to what he says. I don't recall exactly where he gets the list from, but it does actually coincide with some of the stuff that you would expect to see within a military checklist to coincide for what would constitute a civil war or how a civil war comes about. It's not inherently wrong. I do have some misgivings about some of the things he was saying because he's selling it versus the giving the information. So, but the list in itself is just something to ponder as more than anything else. That's it.
All right. Well, if you guys liked anything that you heard today, please be sure to leave a like, follow, and subscribe, and we will catch you next time.